Sean Combs is on trial for his life in New York, accused of sex trafficking and racketeering, but he has support. I go over who's showing up in court to back the rap mogul as he defends himself. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Every day, Sean Combs walks into federal court in a sweater and slacks and listens to testimony about his freak-offs and alleged criminal, violent behavior. And as he listens to this and is fighting for his life, there are people in court supporting him. On the first day of his trial, many of Combs' family members were there. His daughters and his mother, Janice Combs, she was also there. His sons were also in court. And there's one person who's been at every court appearance for Sean Combs, and he's also attending the trial each day. He's Combs' best friend, Charlucci Finney.
I'm a father of two daughters, right? So I wouldn't be here wearing this shirt if I've ever saw any one of my friends, especially him, hit a woman, and it would never happen in front of me. And I've never seen it, never heard it, and seeing it, yeah, it was a lot to take in, but I knew that wasn't him. It looked like, you know, like I was saying, drug-induced, high, or whatever you want to call it. But that's not the Sean that I know.
Now, Finney contends Combs and Cassie were just in a toxic relationship marked by domestic violence, not sex trafficking, and he called the freak-offs consensual.
He didn't bring anyone in. If you was following the case, and I'm quite sure you have, Chris, Cassie brought the people in. Cassie, that's what she did. So a sex worker never said that Sean brought them anywhere, did anything. And as far as being scared, that just mind-boggling to me. I don't believe that at all. Everybody was willing, consenting adults.
Now, Law&Crime's Elizabeth Millner, she's going to be here with me very shortly to explain who's been in the courtroom. And it's not just Combs' family members. There are actually just regular people showing up to support him. And one person who's been in court, Misa Hilton, the mother of Combs' oldest son, Justin Combs. She posted on Instagram, "Yes, I'm good, everyone. I'm on my healing journey. When I suffered my injury, I had chosen to heal privately, but when my son said, 'Mommy, I need you,' I was right there for him, walker and all. I'm a mother first, for real, and I am my son's strength. And that's just what it is, plain and simple. Whoever doesn't understand that just simply isn't in alignment with me or anything that I'm about in life. I'm cool with that. I have a purpose-filled life that I live daily. I make impact. I'm not concerned with insecure people attempting to project their insecurities onto me, ever." So Hilton says she went to court to support Justin, not necessarily Sean Combs. She had previously posted in support of all of Combs' children and said that Sean Combs needs help after seeing that video of him beating Cassie in the hotel hallway. Meanwhile, outside of court, there are people wearing T-shirts in support of Sean Combs, and some claim they're being paid.
Why do you feel that way?
These are all paid protesters. You can get $20 an hour if you wear a T-shirt.
You gotta speak up.
She just got recruited, right?
I refuse.
You said no.
No.
It wasn't worth the 20?
No, but like he told me that it's for a Diddy coin, so I'm not really sure what that is. Yeah, they just tried to pay me $20 to wear a free puffy shirt.
Stop. I could tell because
The lady right there, she just kept convincing me to go wear a shirt, and I'm like, I'm good.
so just $20, and if you need $20, all you have to do is wear a free puff shirt.
And just stand out here.
And you said no.
Yeah, I said no.
Did they say how many hours?
$20 an hour. And she told me she got paid like $60 yesterday for standing out there in 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Our content shows just how important personal safety is, and that is especially true when it comes to protecting your privacy online. You would be absolutely shocked at how much of your personal information is out there, like addresses and phone numbers. Ever wonder why you get so many of those annoying spam calls and emails? That's because this information is all public. That's where our sponsor Incogni comes in. It's a service that helps you take control of your online privacy by removing your personal data from data brokers, huge companies that sell and trade your info without your permission. Incogni found more than 50 brokers with my information. Can you believe that? And here's the kicker.
These data brokers have to remove you from their database if you ask them to. Now you're thinking, Angenette, who in the heck has time to contact a data broker? Well, that again is where Incogni comes in. They contact those companies for you to get your online safety back. You don't have to do a thing, and then they alert you after the request has been completed. After signing up, I get virtually no spam now, so I highly recommend giving Incogni a try. Right now, anyone who uses the code CrimeFix at incogni.com/crimefix gets 60% off. That's a great deal. And again, it's code CrimeFix at incogni.com/crimefix for 60% off an annual Incogni plan.
So, to get the inside scoop on who's really supporting Sean Combs in the courtroom, I want to bring in Elizabeth Millner. She is a reporter here at Law and Crime, and she is in the courtroom every day. She's been to every Sean Combs hearing throughout this case. So, Elizabeth, tell me, who are you seeing? Let's start at the very, very beginning. Day one, the daughters of Sean Combs were there. His mom, Janice, was there. So you tell me who else we saw back on day one show up to support Sean Combs.
There were a lot of supporters of Sean Combs, aka Diddy, aka PD, P Diddy, Love, just all the different names that he has. But it was a pretty stacked courtroom, especially on day one, which we know they were finalizing the jury that day, but also opening statements happened that day. So we had everyone from Mark Garagos, Karen Agnifilo, who's married to Mark Agnifilo. Lil Rod was in the courtroom, not to necessarily support Diddy or anything like that, but he was inside that courtroom, inside the gallery on day one. Doug Wigder was in the courtroom. He represents Cassie, not on Diddy's side necessarily, but as far as his supporters specifically, definitely a lot of family members, including his son or adopted son, Quincy Brown, his son, Justin Combs, Christian Combs, the twins, Delilah and Jesse. Chance Combs was there. Chance's mother was there. Janice Combs, again, Diddy's mother was there. I didn't see Diddy's sister, Keisha, on day one or even throughout the first week of trial, not necessarily sure why. But we also saw another mother of Diddy's children, and that being Dana Tran, who is the mother of Diddy's youngest daughter named Love. And then we saw Kim Porter's best friend, who is one of the caregivers of actually the twins. And so he had a pretty stacked support system as far as family and loved ones go, as well as one of his childhood friends that he's known, I think, since high school, from what I can understand, named Charlucci. He's been inside that courtroom for all the hearings, every single day of trial so far. And so
Wow.
he had a lot of supporters definitely on day one and for sure on day two too.
Now I want to talk about let's talk about Charlucci Finney first. He is the best friend of Sean Combs, and he's been there every day. And you said now that he's been there for all the pretrial hearings too, right?
Yeah, he's been there for a lot of the pretrial hearings. I always was wondering who was the guy wearing the free puff sweatshirt and the free puff hat. And he was allowed to do that during the pretrial hearing because there's no jury, no way that could be prejudicial. So he was able to do it. However, once trial comes, he had to turn the sweatshirt inside out. But he has been very supportive of Diddy throughout a lot of the pretrial hearings, throughout the trial, as somebody who's essentially always in the courtroom, surprisingly always writing down notes too, and just kind of being that support system for Diddy. But he is there essentially every day so far.
So the daughters, it's my understanding, we'd spoken about this before. There were times when they left during some
Yeah.
of the testimony when there was talk about the freak offs and stuff like that. I mean, you can understand that. My God, like who
Yeah.
wants to hear about their dad taking part in this
Yeah.
stuff? They're
Right.
women, they're, young women, teenage girls. But the children haven't been there. The children of Sean Combs haven't been there every day, right?
Not every day. So for the twin daughters specifically, I was told by a source inside the courtroom, a source to Sean Combs, that they actually flew back to the other side of the coast because they were attending what a lot of teenagers do, and that's prom, that's graduation coming up. And so that's why we haven't seen them inside the courtroom, especially this week, because they had prom over the weekend. We saw some photos of them in their prom dresses, but we also haven't seen Chance Combs as well, too. She hasn't been inside the courtroom at least this week, but as far as them leaving the courtroom, especially during some of that more graphic testimony, and that was specifically to Daniel Phillip, one of the male escorts or male exotic dancers that was used in the freak offs, when it started getting into just the graphic testimony of what the sexual acts that he was doing to Cassie during that time, yeah, I did definitely see them all kind of walk up during that moment and just get out of the courtroom, probably to just escape just some of the graphic testimony. Because even for myself, being older than they are, as of right now, it is a lot sometimes. So I can only imagine hearing that and knowing that your dad is involved, of being a clear reason to just get out of the courtroom and just take a breath and take a beat for a little bit. But as far as Cassie's testimony goes, I saw them in the courtroom the majority of the time. I didn't see them kind of
Mm,
walk up when Cassie was testifying. It was only specifically when Daniel Phillip was.
that's very interesting. Um, and they would have been younger, but they would have
Mhm.
maybe known Cassie. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how much she was around the children, but I'm assuming they knew Cassie.
I think they knew of her. From my understanding of Cassie's testimony, it seemed that Diddy really kept the children separate from his
Mm,
relationship with Cassie. Cassie wanted to
interesting.
go on family vacation. She wanted to be at the New Year's Eve party. She wanted to be kind of with Diddy in all aspects of his life, including his family. But according to the testimony that she gave, that wasn't even necessarily the case. So they might have known of her because even during that time frame, their mother, Kim Porter, was still alive. And so it seems like from what I was getting just through Cassie speaking about the situation is that she really didn't have much interaction with the children beyond wishing them well and just being hopeful about all of them and sending them love. But as far as just really being a second mother figure, it didn't really seem that way from her.
That's very interesting. Let's talk now about Janice Combs, because Janice Combs obviously has known Sean Combs longer than anybody. She is his mother. She gave birth to him, and she is certainly standing by her son. She put out a statement quite a while back, basically saying he's being maligned in the press, etc. She was there in the beginning, but has she been there every day?
She hasn't been there every day. She was really there every single day of last week, being the first week of trial. But as far as this week goes, not sure if maybe she flew back over to the West Coast to see the twins go off to prom or graduation or that sort. So I'm not necessarily sure why Janice wasn't in the courtroom this week, particularly. But Diddy did have other support, and that being his sister, Keisha, who has been inside that courtroom every day during week two. So at least for the most part, it seems that he always has at least one support system of the family being inside the courtroom, and then obviously Charlucci being in there as well. But as far as Janice goes, yeah, she wasn't there this week, and I'm not necessarily sure why.
Hmm, very interesting. And you never know. I mean, maybe they've discussed how this will work. Maybe Janice had
Mhm.
things to do. Maybe she had doctor's appointments. We just don't
Yeah.
know. And I don't think
Mhm.
anybody should read anything into that either.
Yeah.
But they've probably worked this out where it's like, okay, the girls want to go to prom or graduation or what have you, so that they'll be there.
Mhm.
And then Keisha will come in, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So talk to me, if you would, a little bit about Sean Combs's reaction to the support in the courtroom. I mean, how is he? What are you seeing when he enters the courtroom in the morning, or when you get in there? Is he already in there? How
Mhm.
is he looking? And of course, we're not seeing the Sean Combs we are used to seeing
No.
on stage or on the
Yep.
red carpet. There are no
Mhm.
tuxedos, there are no business suits, there are no flamboyant outfits, red leather
Yeah.
jackets, or anything like
Yep.
that. This is not the stage persona. We are seeing the
Mhm.
dad, Mr. Rogers version of Sean Combs. No,
Yep.
no dyed hair. We are seeing the 55-year-old man who's trying to project an image to the jury of, I'm
Yes.
just a guy. Like, here I am. I'm
Yeah.
in a sweater and,
Mhm.
slacks.
Yep, that's exactly right. Literally just like Mr. Rogers. He is very toned down, very casual, and in part because of the judge's order where he could only wear specific clothing items, right? That being sweaters, that being button-ups. And so from what I could see of him every single day, he's only assigned 5 different outfit switches, and
Mm,
that is for the entire 8 weeks of trial. So it's a
oh,
lot of muted colors, a lot of grays, a lot of browns, some cream, and again, it's only 5 different outfits. So really those are just the main colors that he's wearing inside the courtroom. But he looks a lot different than we have seen him in press photos on red carpets. He is grayer. He does have kind of a shaved face, but still his goatee is there. It's a little gray too. But even like as far as his tattoos, all of those are covered up. He has a big kind of king crown tattoo that I would see whenever he was in the MDC jumpsuit during the pretrial hearings, but that's covered up. So the jury's not seeing that, and they're really seeing, quite frankly, a very toned down version of Diddy. So when I'm coming inside the courtroom, the press is allowed in first, and then the defendant or Diddy is brought in later after the marshals kind of do their normal search. But even the marshals, they look a lot different from the pretrial hearings in that they were wearing their uniforms and their standard kind of khakis and button up shirt. But as
They wear
far as
suits
trial,
when there's like a big
exactly.
thing
Now
going
they're
on.
wearing
Yeah.
suits. Yeah. So maybe the jury doesn't recognize or even realize that the defendant is in jail or being detained at MDC Brooklyn during this trial and throughout this. But when I see Diddy come inside the courtroom, he always hugs his attorneys. He always kind of looks and scans across the gallery a little bit. If he has family inside the courtroom, he's like showing them love. He does this a lot. And, one of his other nicknames is Love, and he definitely will show the love to those who show it to him. And so he kind of scans the courtroom, I think, kind of gauging who's inside the courtroom, who's there, who's possibly supporting him. And then he just essentially gets to work. And really, sometimes it's like seeing a coach a coach, if that makes sense. Like he really is just in it where he's jotting notes down. He's talking to Mark Agnifilo. He's talking to Brian Steele, Tenny Garagos, just essentially all of his attorneys really just, and we all know he was a chairman and he has run boardrooms and he has had these high positions of power throughout his pretty much his career as far as music, entertainment, all of that sort, right? And so he's not like a passive defendant at all. Like he really is just an active participant in his defense. He, during testimony, he's really watching his attorneys, the line of questioning. I see him kind of looking at the jury sometimes during the testimony, looking at the witnesses. When George Kaplan was on the stand on Thursday, he was smiling at him when he was talking about when George Kaplan was testifying about Diddy being an icon and a cultural moment and how he always wanted a diverse group and he had started Revolt and just kind of talking about his accomplishments prior to his arrest, that Diddy was nodding along and smiling during this. Biggie has been
Mhm.
mentioned a number of times. We know Biggie to be one of Diddy's best friends before his death in the 90s. And Biggie was mentioned a number of times, and Diddy smiles during those moments. But you can tell, like some of the more serious moments, such as the Homeland Security investigators testifying, he really kind of brings it down. He's not as jovial because that's when the evidence is shown. That's when we're seeing the baby oil, the Astroglide, the high heels, the sex toys, and just everything else that agents find. But I really have noticed a lot that he is very active in his defense. And if there's a question that needs to be asked, he's definitely writing it down, passing it off to his attorneys, and they're asking those questions.
But you're saying when he comes in, he scans the gallery
Mhm.
and he's doing this. I'm not even
Yeah.
very good at doing that. Like he's giving the love
Yeah.
symbol. Like I need to work on my little hand movement gestures. I'm not good at
Yeah.
that. But he's seeing who's showing up for him and
Mhm.
he's kind of
Yes.
giving out. I also heard that he saw somebody in court, and I know we were talking, you didn't see this, but somebody had a scrawled letter or something, and the
Mhm.
marshals hauled that person out. It was like somebody who was a free Diddy person or whatever.
Yeah.
And apparently he was like, he did one of these. Like, have you seen any of these? Like, because
Oh,
I
yeah.
read
I've seen
that
a
there
bunch of
was one of
those.
these, like.
Mhm. Yep, I've seen this, I've seen this. There was one woman specifically, I think it was either Monday or Tuesday, where she was sitting towards the back of the gallery on the public side because the public is allowed inside the courtroom. They can definitely watch these proceedings. And I saw her do this to Diddy, and then Diddy did this right back to her. And so I think he appreciates knowing that not everyone is necessarily not on his side. I think he
Mhm.
appreciates the support system that he has. Obviously, it's a lot different being inside that courtroom in that we have to be very quiet. We have to abide by the rules. But what I hear from what's going on in the overflow room is that there's been like cackles, there's people bringing their children in to watch this trial. And so I'm not necessarily sure if there's more supporters in the
People are
overflow room.
bringing their children to watch
There
this.
was a baby inside the overflow room, and the baby was crying because I guess somebody wanted to watch everything go down. And surprisingly, the baby just, I guess, kept crying through all this. Now, mind you, all the reporters having to take their notes, they have to jot things down. They're there to work, but there are some people there to just watch everything, and they are there sometimes every day.
Okay. I don't think that babies at least can't. You're supposed to be
Yeah.
playing classical music for your babies. That's what all the baby books say, not taking them to the Sean Combs trial. But
No.
hey, whatever. I don't take your kids to the Sean Combs trial, please.
No, no, thank
This is
you.
R and X
Yeah.
rated stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Please find a babysitter. Um, let's talk about what's going on outside court, because I saw a TikTok that you posted of somebody wearing free Diddy shirts. Allegedly, people are being paid $20 to wear free Diddy shirts. Is that actually true? Somebody, like, is PR paying people $20 to wear free Diddy shirts, or are people doing this of their own volition?
I have no idea. So this happened on Friday. So this was the end of the first week. I'm coming out to do my live talk back with Jesse on Sidebar. But I come out and I'm seeing just a whole crowd of people. Then I cross the street and I'm seeing just free Diddy shirts. And it's surprising because we weren't seeing that, especially even the first day of trial. Like, we weren't seeing any of that. But I think as more people are realizing that this trial is going on, they're starting to kind of know where this trial is going on. Just more people just hoping to catch some portion of the action are just going there. And so I cross the street and I see a whole bunch of people in free Diddy shirts. They're black with like white letters, and they say free P. Diddy. And then I see the TikTok where somebody had said, oh no, there's a man asking people to wear these shirts for $20 an hour, and somebody wore the shirt for about 3 hours, so they made $60. But as far as like whether or not the PR is involved, I don't necessarily think that's true. I think it's somebody else who might just be a supporter of Diddy's passing
Yeah, and
these shirts
they're
around.
like, hey, I believe in
Mhm.
him. I don't think he did a
Yes.
crime.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think, like, yeah, what he did was horrible to Cassie in the
Mhm.
hallway.
Mhm.
But there are people who support him who do not think
Yeah.
he's a racketeer. They do not believe
Yeah.
he's a sex trafficker.
Right.
They believe, his supporters believe,
That he's
this was
innocent.
domestic violence. These were not
Mhm.
federal crimes, and that
Yeah.
that is what his supporters believe.
Mhm. They do, definitely. And even some of the supporters, they're even just wanting to see pieces of Diddy's children, especially the sons. A lot of kind of female fans I have been seeing have been just kind of excited to see Justin and Christian, and even glimpses of Quincy. Because during the lunch break, they kind of get onto a Sprinter van and they kind of go off, I think, to just have lunch and that stuff. But yeah, there are people who do support Diddy, who do believe in his innocence. And from what I'm told, the family is standing by him through all that, and they believe that he's not guilty of the charges that he's been charged with.
Yeah, most definitely. They do believe that for sure. And there's a film crew traveling with them from what I've seen too in the videos, like in this big
Oh,
Sprinter van.
wow.
So
Oh,
there's something going on there. They're doing a documentary, they are. So
oh yeah.
everybody does a documentary these days.
Everyone has
So
one. Yeah.
yeah, everybody. It's like there's a big case. Guess what? There's a documentary, or two or three,
Yeah.
maybe four. Elizabeth
Yeah,
Millner,
maybe.
thank you so much. You've been doing
Of
such a good
course.
job. I hope you'll come back on with me. I know you're a busy girl, and we'll let you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Definitely will be back on with you.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.